Welcome back to Movies TV Mad. You can follow me on Twitter at Movies TV Mad, and a very warm welcome to Thursday's edition of the DC Universe Daily. Wait there, I want to show you something. Just wait there. Don't go anywhere. Superman Red Sun. An amazing graphic novel, right? We all agree. How would you react, right, if this Blu-ray I was holding up was a live-action movie, an adaptation of this iconic graphic novel? You would lose your shit. Well, what I'm holding here is an animated movie adaptation of this iconic graphic novel. Yes, on today's show, I want to discuss Bruce Timm's DC animated universe and talk about its major achievements. Now, Bruce started out making animated DC TV. Some of his greatest achievements: the Batman animated series, where he first introduced his co-creation of Harley Quinn. The Superman animated series was great as well. It's not talked about in the same vein as the Batman animated series, but it's as equally as groundbreaking. Then you've got one of my favourite DC animated TV shows of all time, Batman, the Brave and the Bold. And it goes on and on. You get the Justice League series, you get the Justice League Unlimited series, achievement after achievement. Then he starts making DC animated movies. I've lost count how many DC animated movies he's either been involved in the writing, the adaptation of the graphic novels, or just producing. He is the head of this whole thing. And it goes on and on. You get about 3 or 4 animated movies a year now. And they're so fucking good. But you know what's even better about these animated movies? You actually get really, really good, like, special features. You get great round tables, you know, from the animators and the writers and comic book writers. It's so good. It's a universe within itself. But again, shut your eyes and imagine this being in live action. A major achievement, everyone. If the DC animated universe had been live action, Bruce Timm would be hailed and respected more than Kevin Feige, or at least as equally as Kevin Feige's achievements. I would dare to say that Bruce Timm's achievements with DC animation are huger and more prolific than Kevin Feige. That's not me trying to put down Kevin or the Marvel Cinematic Universe. What Kevin's done with that is sensational. Although there's some things coming out now that sound pretty toxic with the treatment of VFX artists, and he and Victoria Alonso have got a lot of questions to answer, which they never answer, of course. But let's keep on the positivity. Let's talk about Bruce Timm here. What he's done with the DC animated universe is sensational. If this was done in live action, you lot would be fucking shilling the shit out of Bruce Timm. Now, don't get me wrong. I know there's a lot of DC fans who follow this channel, and a few of you that watch these videos. I know that you know how awesome the DC animated universe is. Now, like all universes, sometimes, or TV shows, you get filler episodes. So you get the kind of middle of the park, the May kind of movies, but they're still good. And they're still better than most DC live action universe movies. Let's be fucking honest about it. As I say, if this was done in live action, if this achievement had been done in live action, you'd be shilling the shit out of Bruce Timm. It's a major achievement. It's astonishing to me that it's not Bruce Timm as co-chair or head chair of DC Studios. Maybe Bruce doesn't want that responsibility. Maybe he feels he's achieved what he's wanted to achieve, and he will continue to have his name as producer and executive producer of all the animated content. What he has done is sensational, and there's not a DC fan who doesn't know about his achievements and doesn't respect those achievements. It's sensational, and I'm not even getting carried away here. I repeat, I'll say it again, because it's animation. Everyone kind of, yeah, it's just animation. Animation is an art form to adapt a lot of these iconic graphic novels into movies. even though they're animated. And I say that because I'm not dismissing animation. I love animation. It's my safe space. I watch so much animation. I fucking love it. These movies are amazing. And I've taken them all out of my cupboard and I've literally put them all on my shelf and I'm going to watch every single one of them. Haven't watched them in ages. So let's pick out another one. Here's one. Imagine Batman The Long Halloween in live action movie form or a streaming show on HBO Max. You nerds would be losing your shit. Again, another amazing achievement. This animated movie comes in 2 parts. Imagine seeing this. Achievement after achievement. This is the greatest, along with Smallville, I think, the greatest DC franchise, in pictures achievement ever, with actors and music. In that kind of form, it's the greatest achievement. It's, of course, superior to the fumbling DCEU, but it's mostly better than anything you've ever seen in live action. And I mean anything. And I mean, obviously, I love Superman the movie. I'll put Superman the movie and Smallville alongside this. Batman Begins is something else that I love, and Batman Returns is something else that I love. I'll put all those things alongside that, and the Joker movie. The Batman's okay. I'm not sure if I will put that alongside Smallville and the animated series, but the animated franchise. But, for me, Smallville, Superman the movie, and this animated franchise are up there. It's peak DC. And as I say, imagine if you had a movie franchise with DC with this in live action. So the achievements are not any less because it's animation. It's all there. It's animated. It's written. It's performed. I think Jensen Ackles from Supernatural, Dean Winchester, plays Batman here. A lot of people love Jensen Ackles to play Batman in live action. I think he would be an outstanding Bruce Wayne. And Batman, he's got everything that you need to be a great Batman. I think he may be a little short, but hey, maybe we'll give him high heels or something. But yeah, listen, it's amazing. And it's disappointing to me that he's not involved in DC Studios. I mean, I don't know any better or any different. Look, as I keep on saying, there's only 2 people working at DC Studios right now, James Gunn and Peter Safran. It's really, really odd. I'll go with it. Hopefully, when he makes these announcements, he announces a fucking team at DC Studios. If James Gunn is looking for inspiration for his brand new DC universe, he doesn't have to look any further than Bruce Timm's animated universe franchise, DC franchise. It's sensational. It spans decades. I think we're going back to the 90s. So we got the 90s. 2000 to 2010, 2010 to 2020. What's that? About 30 odd years, something like that. Maths was never my strong point, by the way. But yeah, it's amazing. It's sensational. And if this guy had achieved this in live action, you'd be shilling the shit out of him. And I know that most of you DC fans absolutely love Bruce Timm, as I love Bruce Timm. It should be him, charting a new revolution for DC live action. But life isn't that fair, because if we heard Bruce Timm was the head chair of DC Studios, we'd be so excited because we know what he's capable of. And this is exactly what DC should be in live action. Don't tell me it's not possible, because there's a difference between live action and animation. It's absolutely possible. Not one live action straight adaptation from the comics for live action movies or TV shows. Now they've adapted Watchmen, and Zack Snyder tried to do it as faithfully as possible. He took a couple of liberties. I mean, you look at the TV series, it's an absolute fucking disgrace. Well made, HBO. HBO always make their stuff great, but they're trying to push propaganda. So really in DC, that's the one, Watchmen. Like, as straight up adaptation as you can get from the graphic novel. As I say, it's not all copy and pasted, but a lot of it really respects Alan Moore's comics. Alan Moore doesn't like Zack Snyder's Watchmen. Alan Moore doesn't like anyone touching any comics anyway and putting them into films and live action anyway. Be interesting what Alan Moore thinks of Bruce Timm. I think that even Alan Moore would have to admit Bruce Timm's amazing achievements. Bruce Timm is a comic book man. Bruce Timm loves the comics. And what he's doing, he's printing animated movies. He's taking the comics and he's literally liking for liking them. Now, yes, there's two versions of the death of Superman that he's done. So there's the recent one, which is these two movies, which is the death of Superman, and then the continuation, the reign of the Superman. Now, basically, this is the portion of the graphic novel which is called The Return of Superman, where you get a multitude of different versions of Superman. It's outstanding. And that's why, even though I love the Snyderverse, attempting to try and do a Superman rebirth stories and cheapen it in a Justice League movie where you only see Superman for 10 minutes thereafter can never, it's not as good as this. So Bruce Timm does it again. He tells the proper comic book story in two parts. Now, there is another Superman Doomsday where it's just like 90 minutes and they cut a lot of corners, although it's still very good and very enjoyable, and a brilliant, memorable performance as Lex Luthor by Smallville's Brainiac, James Masters. And Buffy fans will be saying, why aren't you mentioning Buffy? I just did. I didn't watch Buffy. Not that I didn't like it. I watched the pilot. I enjoyed it, but I never got into it enough to keep on watching it. Anyway, we're not here to talk about Buffy. But yeah. So again, another achievement. This is a spanning, long-running DC universe of a multitude of achievements. I could sit here telling you all day how great Bruce Timm is. But why do I know how great Bruce Timm is? Why do you know how great Bruce Timm is? And why doesn't David Zaslav know how great Bruce Timm is? It's a bit of a crime, really, isn't it? Imagine, think about this. He didn't ask Bruce Timm to run DC Studios, but he asked the Joker writer-director, Todd Phillips, a man who isn't even a DC fan, to run DC Studios just because he made $1 billion DC movie. Compare that to Bruce Timm's, DC animated universe achievements. He fucking co-created Harley Quinn. Hello? Can anyone hear me? This man is a fucking DC god, right? And this clown, Zaslav, I'm sorry, you're a clown, my friend. I don't mean to be toxic. I'm sure you have grandkids and kids and they all love you and you've probably got a wife or a partner. Whatever you've got, I'm sure you're a lovely, fluffy, cuddly guy. But you're a clown. Because if you actually went to Kevin Feige and Todd Phillips, even though you knew Feige was going to say no to you, but you didn't go to Bruce Timm, you, my friend, are an absolute clown. This guy is a fucking genius. What else have I got here? What else have I got here? This is one of my favourites, right? Now my bed's looking a bit messy because I've got Blu-rays all over it. But don't worry about that. I'm in the zone today. Look at this one. Have you seen this one? This is Justice Society World War II. Have you seen it? This, my friends, again, if this was made in fucking live action, forget the Flash movie they're making, right? This is fucking amazing. This is a JSA movie. Not a JSA movie that has a couple of fucking members in a Black Adam movie. This is a proper fucking JSA movie with them fighting in World War II. Now, the spin on this is that the modern day Flash speeds so fast he goes into the Speed Force and he joins this team. We have a Wonder Woman with an accent. She hasn't got an American accent like some of the other animation, which I kind of find disappointing when she does have an American accent, because why does she have an American accent? But yeah, that's a little nitpick. Still love you, Bruce Timm. And there's loads of brilliant actresses, of course, who have played Wonder Woman. and I respect all those ladies. But yeah, this is a super movie. And you know, you get Steve Trevor, and it's the representation of Steve's love for Diana, and he keeps on proposing to her, even though he knows she's going to say no. As I say, if you're a fan of the comics, the DC animated universe is a place to be. Because live action really has never respected the comics. I suppose the Batman, in a way, is one of the few films to try and say, here's Batman. This is who he was in the comics, and this is who he is in this movie. I suppose, in a way, this is the purest form of Batman we've seen from the comics. But mainly, live action has done its own thing. I don't think it's a rule break not to copy and paste stuff in live action. I respect the fact that Todd Phillips did his own thing, and Matt Reeves wants to be very faithful to the comics, and, you know, Christopher Nolan wanted to do his own thing. That's okay. Not everyone has to copy and paste the comics. But if you're one of those people who says DC's always been bad, how dare you? Maybe you don't like the live action and you think all the live action is bad. That's fair enough. Now, there's a lot of things from live action DC that I absolutely adore. I just feel Bruce Timm's achievements in animation are greater. Apart from what Dick Donner did with Superman the movie, and Tom Mankiewicz, by the way, and what Alan Miles and their teams did with Smallville. I think those are the pinnacle of DC live action. But Bruce Timm's achievements are greater than most of the achievements in live action. Now, that's not really too hard to surpass, but Bruce Timm has surpassed these achievements. Bruce Timm has created something amazing. All these animated movies I'm holding up for you, it's amazing. As I say, if these movies were in live action, you lot would be, you lot would be in a vegetated fucking state. But just because it's animation doesn't lessen the achievement. We're talking about animated television. We're talking about animated movies made as features, invested in like features. And, credit to WB Animation through the years for backing Bruce Timm's vision of a DC, universe. And I mean, it's not necessarily a continued universe. It's not exactly kind of the MCU where it's one thing after the other and it all continues. There's a lot of Elseworld stuff in this franchise. It's amazing. I'm not sure how much of it really connects to each other, and that's okay. But it's amazing. My point is, imagine a DC live-action cinematic and streaming and gaming universe that takes the graphic novels faithfully like this animated universe does, not forgetting that Bruce co-created Harley Quinn. A major character, major achievement. She's fucking great the way Bruce co-created her. I forgot the other guy who also had a hand in creating this character. Me bad, right? But I can't say it loud enough. It's amazing. What Bruce has done is amazing. It should never be forgotten. It is probably one of the greatest achievements in modern day kind of media. What do you call animated? Is it live action? It's not live action, but let's call it movies. Let's call it movies. In moving pictures, right? Because animation isn't deemed as live action. I don't think. Maybe I'm wrong. But animation, it takes a lot to do animation, right? I mean, these days they do it in the computers. I don't know how the DC animation is done. It's hardly Pixar technology, is it? But it's always looked amazing. The old ones, the new ones. As I say, I've got plenty of these movies, and I don't have the funds to buy everything. I still want to own every single, animated TV series and animated movie. I don't have them all. There's so many out there, but through the years, I've done well to collect a lot of them, and I'm so proud to own these amazing television series and movies. And if Bruce Timm was here, I would shake him. No, I would give him a hug. Because as a DC fan, he's given me something that none of these people, apart from Dick Donner and Alan Miles, I definitely hug those three people. I can't hug Dick Donner and Tom Mankiewicz, who, wrote and directed Superman the movie, because they're no longer with us. Hopefully they're looking over me and every DC fan right now. What they gave us was sensational. Thank you, Dick. Thank you, Tom. And Al and Miles, absolute icons for what they did with Smallville. Should we talk about Smallville for the last 10 minutes of this video? I mean, what Bruce Timm did was sensational. Why is Smallville so special? Smallville did something you can't do today because of how politically obsessive the extreme left are and how they've just hijacked this industry. But back in 2001, you can make a show like Smallville. Don't forget, we hadn't seen a Superman movie since Superman 4. Superman had fallen to his knees. Now, we did have another series called Lois and Clark, The New Adventures of Superman, starring Dean Cain and the extraordinary, unique, very talented Terry Hatcher. Terry Hatcher basically had everyone sitting on her shoulders. She was the most talented element of that series, along with Lane Smith, who played Perry White. Those two were absolutely fantastic. Dean Cain really isn't the right guy to play Superman, in my opinion. Wasn't my show. But to bring Smallville into the 21st century is bringing Superman into the 21st century. This show created new Superman fans. This is a wet dream to any Superman comic book writer who's been, or she, been racking their brains in how to make Superman relevant today. Because that's a discussion we can have as well. But the achievements of Smallville are great. So you bring Clark Kent, who is exactly how a young Clark Kent should be. He's shy, confused, he has a crush on the most beautiful girl in school, Lana Lang, played by one of the most beautiful actresses and most talented actresses I've ever seen in television, aka Kristen Krug. Yeah, let's be clear, Kristen is a beautiful woman, but she's also a very talented actor. Let's make no mistake, she was there because she had a certain look, a unique look, by the way, but also what a talent. And I always loved Kristen as Lana. But to forge this show, that makes lots of changes to the Superman comic book canon. Having Lex Luthor in Smallville when Clark's a teenager, and for them to be friends, and for us to see this friendship, deteriorate within 7 seasons, seeing how Lex Luthor becomes Lex Luthor, seeing how Clark Kent will ultimately become Superman. But there's not an episode where Clark Kent on Smallville doesn't feel like Superman. Even though he's not Superman yet and he doesn't wear the costume, he feels like that character. He has powers. He's a hero. He learns very important lessons from his mother and father, because the people who write the comics always say that Superman is the person he is because of his parents, and we see that in the great, pure advice that he gets from Jonathan and Martha. And there's so many beautiful moments I can mention within this show. It forged the kind of Superman environment you would want to see. And as I say, young people who had never picked up a comic book were watching this show and suddenly picking up comic books, watching the Superman movies, the George Reeves TV series, the Lois and Clark, Dean Cain, Terry Hatcher show, etc., etc. All of a sudden, because of Smallville, Superman was relevant. Let me repeat this. In one of the most impossible tasks in modern day, Superman was made relevant by a TV show that not once while it was active, prior to finale, ever had the character wearing the Superman costume. But everyone knew who he was, and everyone knew this character would become Superman. And if I said to someone, a friend, this is Smallville, oh, never heard of it, one day this character will become Superman. Oh my God, they tell the story and how he becomes Superman. That's awesome. I'm going to watch this. Remain a fan. It was magic. It was magic. So you get these achievements. Now, going back to Bruce Timm, there's a great kind of graphic novel called Superman versus the Elite. And they adapted this into an animated movie. And I had never read the comics. I think it's a comic series, more than one comic. Have I got it here? No, I haven't. I don't. Superman versus the Elite is part of a pack I have in a Blu-ray of 5 discs, by the way. I forgot to put it near my bed. But yeah, let's talk about Superman versus the Elite. You know, the Snyderverse stands are always saying, why does he have to be a good guy? Why can't he kill? We don't understand. If it wasn't for Man of Steel, we wouldn't have become Superman fans. Yes, you're fans of Zack Snyder's Superman, as am I. But I will never sit here supporting the fact that Superman kills, or that David Goyer decided within the narrative Superman would have no choice but to kill. I will never agree with that. I don't hate it, but that's the moment that cost Man of Steel $1 billion. That's the moment that stopped Henry Cavill making a sequel. That's the moment that means Henry Cavill will never play, most probably never play, Superman again. But Superman versus the Elite settles this fucking debate once and for all, because it has an absolutely beautiful moment in the 3rd act. So let me explain to you the story if you haven't seen it before. So there's this guy called Manchester Black, and he's got a group of kind of, I suppose you could call them, anti-heroes. Now they believe villains should be killed. If you kill the villains, they can't come back. Metropolis is going through a situation with kind of recurring villains. And even they are starting to question what Superman does. Superman just wants to bring them to justice, put them in jail. But they are coming out, they are killing people, and Manchester Black poses this question to Metropolis. What would you rather? Me, who kills them, or Superman, who puts them away, and then they come out and they kill again? There's a great moment with this young boy of colour where his dad is murdered by a villain, and he's, begging Manchester Black to murder the villain. So Manchester Black kills the villain. Superman opposes this, and Superman sets up a situation where they think they've killed him. Then he comes out and says, I know what you want, you're right. I should become like you. I'm going to kill you and your group, Manchester. And he shits them up. He makes Manchester Black believe that he's murdered his team. He's got one black eye. He looks fucking insane. And it looks like in front of the whole of Metropolis, he's going to murder Manchester. Manchester had drones watching everyone supposedly killing Superman. So everyone can see this. And then Superman says, I never will. There'll never be the day that I will kill. This is the moment that I'm so proud of Superman. This is why I love this fucking character. Because we need one moral outlet in this fucked up fucking world full of discourse and division and hatred. We need one fucking character to be better than you and me. We can never be as good as Superman, but we can aspire. In all the madness, in a city like Metropolis, full of people who want Superman to be a killer, Superman says no. And he looks at his enemy and he says, I'll never fucking kill you. It's hard to be Superman. It's easy to hate. I remember that episode of Smallville when Clark says to Chloe, for that moment, I knew what it felt like to be Lex. Hate is clean. It's hard to be a good person. It's hard to be Superman. It's hard for him to stand over someone who's caused so much catastrophe and pain and not kill them. There's a moment in Superman versus the Elite, the animated movie, where you can see Superman clenching his fist and shaking. You can tell that he wants to kill a villain at that time, but he doesn't. And that's the point. And that's what's so beautiful about Superman versus the Elite. It's that moment that I'm so proud. I've been defending this character for years. He's not boring. He's not overpowered. He's so important because what he shows is willpower. Because as I say, it's not easy to be Superman just because he's got so many powers. It's not easy being good. It's not easy being nice. Sometimes being nice is like breathing in. When someone goes on the internet and says horrible things to me or about me, I have to breathe in. And I have to be better than them. And I have to not put them down. Sometimes I've been weak, and I have. But most of the time I don't. As I say, it's difficult. It takes strength of character to be Superman. And that's why he will always be my #1 hero. This has been Thursday's edition of the DC Universe Daily with me, Mick, your host with the most. Just ask your girlfriends and your wives. Please like, share, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you never miss this beautiful perfection. And I'll see you again in the next video. Until I see you again, goodbye, au revoir, auf Wiedersehen. I really enjoyed today's video. It was so cool. I hope you enjoyed it too. See you later.